You're watching Faith Unscripted, coming to you from the greater Chicago area. Now, here's Pastor Moses.
Come on, how many of you are ready for the word of the Lord today? Come on, I want you to stand to your feet. And I want to jump right into the word of the Lord today. As you know, today we are starting a new sermon series entitled Building My Capacity. As you know, this is the year to build here at Faith Movers Church. We declared that 2023 is the year to build. And so we're going to be talking throughout the year about certain areas of our lives that we got to be serious about building up. And so in this month of May, I'm excited because we're going to be talking about building our capacity. And let me just give you a definition or a good definition of how I like to define capacity so you'll know what we're talking about. When we talk about capacity, we're talking about the amount that something can contain or produce. All right? When we're talking about this whole issue of capacity, somebody shout capacity, we're talking about the amount that something can contain or something can produce. Now, this is important to understand because for many of you, hear me good, you're getting ready to enter into a season, or for some of you, you're already in a season. This is important, that God wants to enlarge your ability to receive. All right, I'm going to try it again. I said, we're getting ready to enter into a season where God needs to enlarge our ability to receive. Now hear me good. When I talk about receiving and even receiving more, I want you to understand that I'm not really talking about receiving as it relates to prosperity. More so that when I talk about getting the capacity, the ability to receive more, I'm talking about building your capacity to receive more in the area of responsibility. I'm going to try that again. Some of y'all didn't like that. I said, when I'm talking about receive more, I'm not talking about necessarily, we'll get to that, but not necessarily in the area of prosperity. But God wants to enlarge your ability to receive more in the area of responsibility. Matter of fact, come on, let's get it going. Touch somebody, just tell them you got more to do. Come on, look behind you and say, you got more to do. Now here's the shout. When you do more, you gonna have more. But you gotta do more first. Look at somebody, say you gotta do more first. And so we've got to build our capacity in this season. So come on, let's get this party started and go with me this morning to Exodus chapter 18. Now, there's a couple of verses I got to read in your hearing today in order to put this text in its proper context. Exodus chapter 18. And now I want to say this. I'm going to try to take you today as far as I can. And if I can't get to a certain point by a certain time, wherever I leave off, we'll pick up next week. Is that all right? All right, come on, let's push then. Exodus 18, and I want to begin reading at verse number 13. Exodus chapter 18. I want to begin reading at verse number 13. I'm going to read this out of the New King James Version. That is my translation of choice. Exodus 18, verses 13, and we'll start there. It says, "And so it was on the next day that Moses set to judge the people. And the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. So when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, 'What is this thing that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit, and all the people stand before you from morning until evening?' And Moses said to his father-in-law, 'Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a difficulty, they come to me, and I judge between one and another, and I make known the statutes of God and his law. So Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you do is not good. Both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourselves out. For this thing is too much for you. You are not able to perform it by yourself. Look at somebody and say, you can't do it by yourself. Verse 19, listen now to my voice, and I will give you counsel, and God will be with you. Stand before God for the people, so that you may bring the difficulties to God. And you shall teach them the statutes and the laws, and show them the way in which they must walk and the work they must do. Look at somebody say, you got to do something. Verse 21, moreover, you shall select from all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of 100, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10. And let them judge the people at all times. Somebody shout, at all times. Then it will be that every great matter they shall bring to you, but every small matter they themselves shall judge. So it will be easier for you, for they will bear the burden with you. Verse 23, last verse. If you do this thing, and God so commands you, then you will be able to endure. Look at somebody and say, you're going to make it. And all this people will also go to their place in peace. I want to put key emphasis now on verse 14. It says, so when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, what in the world are you doing for this people? Moses Heaven version. And why do you sit all by yourself and stand before the people from morning? You're doing it all day long. Somebody shout, all day long. And then he says in verse 17, he says, Moses, what you're doing, it is not good. Come on, as we begin sermon 1 of this series, Building My Capacity, I won't talk this morning from the subject, I got too much on my plate. I got too much on my plate. Before you sit down, just touch one person and tell them, I got too much on my plate. You may be seated this morning in the presence of the Lord. I won't talk about that. I got too much on my plate. The saying, I got too much on my plate, is a figure of speech that speaks to someone who is completely overwhelmed. I can remember a story when I was a little boy. I can vividly remember going to one of my favorite restaurants in my hometown, Macon, Georgia. It was a seafood restaurant that I loved so much. And on this particular day, your boy, who was about 8 years old, ate so much that after I got through eating, I asked my mama the question. I said to my precious mother, Mama, can people bust? And I shall never forget what my mother told me after she finished laughing at me. She looked at me, then she looked at the table, and she said to me, boy, you had too much on your plate. You see, I was so full that day that I had literally reached, catch this, my eating capacity. And it got so bad that I couldn't even put 1 ounce of food in my stomach because I felt as if I was literally about to bust. Ask somebody, have you ever been there? And this morning, y'all, as we begin this new sermon series on capacity, I really want to begin this series by asking all of us a question. And the question is, how many of us are living our lives in such a way that we feel as if we are about to bust? Perhaps we are so full with responsibilities, assignments, errands, and duties that we are about to explode mentally and emotionally. We are literally at a place where we cannot fit nothing else into our lives. You see, if I had to Moserize this saying, I got too much on my plate, perhaps I would do it like this. You see, let me try to illustrate it for you. You see, the plate represents your capacity. Represents your capacity. Represents, if you will, your schedule, the things that you're able to do. And here it goes. The things that are on your plate, they represent your responsibilities and your assignment. And how many of you know it is impossible to live on earth without having to put some stuff on your plate? And so for many of us, this is how our lives look. We got to put stuff on our plate. Gotta go to work every day. After we go to work, we gotta, for those of us who got kids, you gotta pick up the kids and gotta make sure the kids got everything they need. And then once we get the kids, we got to at least try to walk around the neighborhood, because the doctor said if we don't fix some of our ways, we're going to be out of here soon. So we got to do that. Then once we do all of that, we got to call the bank and tell the bank stop messing with our money, because our money is important to us. And we're trying to handle all of this stuff, and we got even more stuff to do. We got to make a phone call because we got somebody that we're supposed to call, and we ain't got back to them yet. And before you know it, we look at our plate. And our plate looks full. Now, you got all this on your plate and you ain't watched Netflix yet. You got all this on your plate and you ain't even scrolled on Facebook yet. What do you do in life when your plate gets full? What do you do in life when your plate, your capacity looks like this? Got so much stuff on your plate that you ain't got room to fit anything else. Now, here's the challenge. Everybody say, here's a challenge. All right, what do you do in life when your plate is this full? Because you understand, when your plate gets this full, you have a headache just by looking at it. Just by looking at it can irritate you. Just by looking at the responsibility, the assignments that you have in your life, even just by thinking about the stuff you got to do, it can drive you crazy. And sometimes in life, our plate will get so full that we'll reach a point that we will say, I'm not putting nothing else, y'all, on my plate. I don't care what it is. I don't care what they need. I ain't got room for nothing else. But here's the challenge. What do you do when your plate is full, you are overwhelmed in life, and you're saying that you're not going to put nothing else on your plate? But God got some stuff in his hand that God said it needs to be on your plate. Y'all didn't like that. Well, what do you do in life when your plate is full and you feel as if I don't have the capacity capacity to do anymore. And your spirit is shutting down. Your mind is shutting down. But God says we got a problem, because although you're shutting down, the assignments that I have for your life, the promises that I have for you, the things that I need you to do for me in my kingdom, I still need them to get on this plate. And please hear me good. Anytime you find yourself in a situation like that, it's a very vulnerable and sensitive place. Look at somebody say, it's a sensitive place. It's sensitive, y'all, because here it goes. On one hand, you're saying your plate is full. But on the other hand, God's saying, I got some more stuff that I need you to do. And what happens is you reach a place where you got two options. You can either, number one, deny God and say, God, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Or you can get to church every Sunday in the month of May and allow me to help you build your capacity to receive more. Look at somebody say, you better be in church, you better be in church. Because if you like me, you already know denying God is not an option. Oh, come on, look at somebody and say, denying God is not an option. Because when you deny God, when God says, I got more stuff that I want you to do, I got more assignments I need you to do, but your plate is so full that you ain't got room to do what God has called you to do, there are some serious consequences. Number one, it will cause you to go in the wrong direction in life. And there's some of us, we're going in the wrong direction in life because we have allowed too much other stuff to get on our plate, and we have not done and put on our plate the things that God wants on our plate. Which eventually, hear me good, will cause you to live a life outside of the will of God. And please understand me good, faith movers. If you give in to just living a life of being overwhelmed and deny God for the things that he wants you to do, here it goes, you will limit the blessings that God has for your life. And you will not get all that God has for you. Oh, look at somebody and say, I want all that God has for me. And FMC, if I can be honest, this is the situation that we arrived at in our text in Exodus chapter 18. Because at the time of our text, Moses, my namesake, who is the main character of this particular pericope, he's in a place in life where he's totally overwhelmed. And he's living, watch it, beyond his capacity. Have you ever lived like that? Living in a space, living in a place that you're so overwhelmed, so much on your plate that you can't have peace. So much on your plate that you can't even pursue the things that God has for you next. Moses was in a place that the people that he was serving had him so overwhelmed. Literally, he had too much on his plate. And it was Moses' father-in-law, a man by the name of Jethro. Look at somebody and say, I thank God for Jethro. Who sees Moses' life. He sees what Moses is going through. And he literally gives Moses, don't miss it, some life-changing spiritual advice. And y'all, what I want to do today is I want to use this illustration of having too much on your plate and teach you, according to this text, how to expand your capacity so that you can make sure you got on your plate the things that God has for you. Look at me and look at somebody say, don't miss God, don't miss God. And y'all, according to Jethro's advice to Moses in Exodus 18, when you got too much on your plate, the first thing you need to do, number one, is you need to analyze what's on your plate. Number one, you need to analyze what's on your plate. Here it goes. You see, sometimes we can make room for more on our plate if we just take some stuff off of our plate that don't need to be on our plate. You see, sometimes, y'all finna back off of me now. Sometimes stuff is on your plate out of season. Understand, one of the keys to building capacity is knowing what to have on your plate and when to have it on your plate. Please understand that in the dining world, they have some things that are called course meals. You have a 3-course meal. They got something called a 4-course meal. They even got something called a 7-course meal. Y'all, it's so crazy for the real bougie people. They got something called a 12-course meal. For example, a 3-course meal is an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. All right? A 4-course meal is a soup, salad, entree, and dessert. 5-course meal is an appetizer, soup, entree, dessert, and cheese. All right, now watch it. Now, anyone who knows anything about eating knows you don't put all the parts of the course meal on your plate at the same time. All right, so if I had a plate, all right, I'm not going to put the entree, the chicken, some good chicken, and all my sides. I'm not going to give me some collard greens and all the turn. Now, when you're eating correctly, ain't eating crazy, this is a simple entree. Now, you ain't going to put the dessert with all the simple entree. Now, I know some of y'all eat like this, and you shouldn't, but I'm saying, under normal circumstances, but somebody say, under normal circumstances, all right, you supposed to eat your main meal, and you supposed to add the dessert later. All right, matter of fact, let's go deeper. They got it so organized that literally there's a plate for the appetizer. Literally, you have what they call a salad plate. Literally, you have a dinner plate. Literally, you have a dessert plate. Why? Because your plate was not built to have everything on it at the same time. And some of us are so overwhelmed because we got too much stuff piled on our plate, and some of the stuff that's on our plate is out of season, is out of timing. All right, hear me good. Woo, this is important. Woo, what I'm about to say is, it was worth getting up out the bed and coming to church. Woo, because hear me good. This is something that I've learned about life. Hear me good. You can have it all. You might just can't have it all at the same time. Bump somebody, say, that was a word right there. Yeah, in life, hear me good. You can have it all. But here's the issue. You can't always have it all at the same time. So sometimes you have to push yourself and ask yourself the appropriate questions. Do I really need this on my plate right now? All right, here it goes. Should I really be doing this in this season of my life? You see, in order to build your capacity, sometimes you have to analyze your mentality. And this is what Jethro told Moses. Watch it. Exodus 18, verse 13. It says, on the next day, Moses was judging the people. He was doing his assignment. He had his plate full. And the Bible said he was doing it from morning into evening. He took no breaks, just judging the people. Look at somebody and say, he was doing too much. And the first thing that Jethro told him in verse 14 when he saw it, he said, Moses, let me ask you some questions. First question, what in the world are you doing? Do you even see that it's crazy? Can you even see this is too much food? Can you even understand that this is just too much? He says, what are you doing? And here's another thing. Why are you trying to do everything by yourself? He said, you got folk looking around, looking at you, kill yourself. And that's some of your realities right now. Because there are folk that say they love you, but they're watching you tear yourself up. They're watching you go down day by day because you do everything. You know everybody's schedule. You're the only one carrying things. You're the only one bringing in money. All the pressure is on you. You got all the responsibility, and everybody is just sitting on the couch scratching their butt watching you do everything. Would you bump somebody and say, I'm tired of doing everything? All right, look at me. He told Moses, look at me. He told Moses, you got to ask yourself some tough questions. Are you hearing me? And sometimes, in order to build more, you have to ask yourself the tough questions about your plate, about your capacity, about your skill. Some of you, God says, stop getting comfortable in just that one thing, because the anointing that he has over your life is multidimensional. It's just not a one thing anointing, but you can do a whole lot of stuff. Bump somebody.
Come and get your praise on at Faith Movers Church. Join us at 11 a.m. every Sunday, or watch us live
on Facebook Live or YouTube for a powerful, impactful word.
Faith Movers Academy is located right here on the grounds of Faith Movers Church. Born out of our senior pastor, Pastor Moses B. Herring Sr.'s vision to have a Christian academy that marries spiritual growth and development and academic rigor, Faith Movers Academy provides for a Christ-centered, personalized educational experience that is both fun and creative. And we want you to be a part of that experience. We would love to see you here. Why don't you visit us at www.faithmoversacademy.org or call us at 708-279-1012. Remember, Faith Movers Academy, where we're building faith, developing scholars, and revolutionizing education. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching Faith Unscripted with Pastor Moses. If you're ever in the greater Chicago area, Pastor Moses would like to personally invite you to see him live at Faith Movers Church. Faith Movers Church is located 25 minutes from the city of Chicago at 425 Exchange Street, University Park, Illinois, 60484. You can join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. and on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. We know this will be a transformational experience. Once again, thank you for watching Faith Unscripted with Pastor Moses. And remember, whatever you do, be a faith mover.